And welcome in to Facebook Live as we talk about a disturbance that could be affecting our weather by Sunday, perhaps Tuesday. South Carolina's weatherman Jim Gandy has got all the details. What's the latest? What's going on here? What are we watching?
We talked about this yesterday with an area of disturbed weather that was north of Panama. Well, it became better organized and it's moving northward. It's a tropical depression right now off the coast of Nicaragua. Now, this particular map is not of the surface. It's of the airflow above us, probably about 3 miles above us. The importance of that is this is where some of the steering currents are for the storm. And there are a couple of things that are going to affect this storm as it moves northward. First of all, just to the north, we've got this trough of low pressure that's moving westward. And as it moves westward, the winds are going to become more southerly. That's going to take this system north. But we've got high pressure to the north right now over the southeast. That's been providing us with some pretty nice weather, and it normally would block the northward movement of this storm as it moves into the Gulf of Mexico. And indeed, there's some suggestion that as this moves north, it might slow down in the Gulf of Mexico. But eventually what's going to happen is all of this is going to shift to the east, and it's going to be right over here east of Florida. And the strength of the high then becomes important as to where this system goes once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico. Does it go for Louisiana or does it go to Florida?
All right, so let's talk about for this a moment. If it goes further out, say toward Louisiana, what kind of effects would we have? And if it goes closer, what kind of effects?
Well, if it goes to the west, then obviously the effects are less for us. We wouldn't get the wind. We would get a little bit of rain because of all the moisture that's coming north, but it wouldn't be anything to be concerned about. Obviously, in Louisiana, they would be concerned because we do expect this to be a hurricane. Now, if it hits the Florida Panhandle, it's heading off in this direction. We get more of the wind and more of the rain, and those are the effects that we're expecting here.
What about the models? Are they agreeing on some sort of path right now?
Well, let's take a look at that. First of all, let's take a look at this was the latest advisory. Here it is off the coast of Nicaragua right here, and it's going to be moving toward the north-northwest over the next 24 hours. It is expected to become a tropical storm, and when it becomes a tropical storm, it's going to be named Nate. This continues moving north. Now, the National Hurricane Center on their 5 o'clock advisory kept this as a tropical storm. I have some real concerns because the water here is very warm, and it's in an environment that would be conducive for rapid intensification. That's the first thing that could change in this system that's not being forecast, is that this could rapidly intensify into a hurricane, maybe even a major hurricane. So that's one of the things we're going to be looking at. Then the other thing is, even if it doesn't become a hurricane here, it becomes a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico. And again, the intensity is a hard thing to forecast if you don't know what this is going to be. But let's assume that the National Hurricane Center is right. Here is where we have a problem because of that high pressure off to the east.
Right.
Depending on its strength, it's either going to push it this way, or if it's weaker, it's going to go this way. So right now, they're betting on it being weaker and heading up through the Florida Panhandle and into the upstate of South Carolina. Well, what that means for us is that we get more of the effect from the system than if it went westward.
And we would be on, again, the dreaded east side of the storm, right?
Exactly, which is a favored location for tornadoes. And in fact, this would shape up similar to what we went through with Irma. If you remember what Irma was like, then this is what this may be like. And let's take a look at the spaghetti plots. Here's the overall track. You can see how they're kind of going with the northeast. Right. Now, if we go with the spaghetti plots, notice I've also included the National Hurricane Center track. It's on the east side of the spaghetti plots. That's because this is where the European model is forecasting, and the European model has done the best job at many of these hurricanes this year. So, and some of these models here have been showing a problem. The problem relates to the high out here. So here you have the problem with intensity. Here you have the problem of track. And if the Hurricane Center forecast is correct, this is what the European model is projecting as far as rainfall. Heaviest rainfall would be in the upstate. Here in the Midwest, 1 to 3 inches of rain. But more importantly, with this much rain in the upstate, all that water's got to go downhill.
Right.
So our rivers are going to be flooding. And so if you have interest along the rivers, that could be a problem. Now, the European model did something today that was a little bit of a surprise because it slowed it down in the Gulf of Mexico. And again, it's related to that high pressure system to the north. So what does that do as far as the winds are concerned? Well, the winds would be delayed getting here until Monday. This is Sunday. We're starting to get some breezy conditions there. Once we get into Monday, though, look at the wind speeds going up during the afternoon hours. And notice, now these are wind gusts. This is not sustained winds. But with the system coming into the Florida Panhandle, you're still getting some pretty strong winds here in Georgia. And here in South Carolina, during the evening hours of Monday, they pick up as well. And in fact, the models are suggesting that our wind gusts could be as strong as they were in Irma.
Now, obviously, if this storm tracks further to the west,
then everything shifts to the west.
And these wind speeds will be a lot lower.
Exactly.
All
so but we're 4 to 5 days away.
Right.
So there's still a lot of uncertainty as to how this storm is going to evolve.
Right.
And more than likely, there are going to be changes to the forecast, and there's going to be another fly in the ointment. We're basing a lot of this on information that's a little incomplete. And so in order to get a more complete picture, the National Hurricane Center is going to be flying they're going to be flying the aircraft tomorrow, the high-altitude aircraft, to get a better sense for the upper-level winds around the system, and they've also are going to be releasing some additional radio signs. Those are the instruments that go up into the upper atmosphere, so we can get a better look at that over Florida. So with that information, tomorrow night's forecast from the computer models should be better.
All right, so we're going to look forward to that. More detailed information perhaps tomorrow night. We're still days away.
We are.
But it never hurts to start looking ahead and possibly planning ahead. This could be ever changing, so tomorrow is important.
And my suggestion would be keep up on the latest weather forecast, particularly between now and the weekend.
Right.
You've got the weekend to prepare for this, because I don't anticipate anything's going to happen here before Sunday, and more likely it's Monday into Tuesday. Now, the interesting thing about this is if the National Hurricane Center forecast is correct, then Monday we have the tropical storm. It's going to be hot Tuesday, and then a cold front comes through Tuesday night. It starts to cool off Wednesday, and it's breezy.
How about that?
So every day could be different next week. And again, we have a lot to hash out here, but I do want people to be alert that there is something in the Caribbean now that could affect us, and we could be seeing conditions like we saw in Irma. And so if you had problems with Irma, you could have problems with this.
All right. He is South Carolina's weatherman Jim Gandy. As he says, stay with us here on News 19. We're on your side, tracking the very latest on this possible system that's headed our way. We'll have more updates over the next several days, so stay with us here on Facebook Live.